a whole lot of my life, I've been sniffing a whole lot of irony, a whole lot of my whole life. And irony is across the board within everything that we do. And that's cool that we could go back somehow with our mind before a different context of a mind, because all of this was created from a mind, but at that, like, some like facet or some number outlet or number inlet of a detrimental mind, particularly because before the detrimental mind and the engagement of our individual micro detrimental mind and the collective detrimental mind, there's a difference between those detrimental minds. And within those detrimental minds, those have been doing a relationship within the past 10, 20, whatever time you have a relationship with time, within this human time. It's created something of particular nuanced causes and effects, different contexts of causes and effects to make you specifically what you are right now. Everything about you, everything about your mutation, everything about your change, everything about, what has taken form, which seems apparently non-temporal, but it is temporal. And then just seeing, like, the roots of that, and within that, like, before this is happening, before this present moment is happening, we have to go before the detrimental mind and just the mind in general, because if we don't do that, then we can't see what started as a pure default energetic setting system or system settings on an original pure metaphysical level, most respectively. And within that, once we like when we like go back in time within just our like something of like our, like, water to wind element in between the wind and the water, that's the mind. If we go back to the mind and just seeing what was like within a different past element, then we're just kind of like, we're seeing like we're reviewing what we kind of came out of, we're assessing what we kind of came out of. Because in high school you were a different person, in middle school you were a whole different person, though, but they're like completely done with, but they were like a physiological momentum for you to be what you are, because in like high school I used to play basketball, I used to like, the competitive arena, like the whole Martian kind of thing, and how the Martian kind of like appropriates itself within, like, the Saturnalia and the Venusian stuff. Because like if you're gonna actually like really like on a societal level, on a realistic level, on just a general society basis level, the root chakra is Saturn, Mars, and Venus, but it's all of them, but some are just more prominent in that area, like all the planets are in all the chakras, but they're just more like, they have different nuanced prominalities from like how they've like been doing their things within that, like a whole different context of the chakra is like an energy location within itself, of course. And within that, it's the external evolution of those chakras and how they're making a whole new like thing, whatever it is, on the pureness of oneness. And within that whole new thing, it's like just like generally like going back to like, I like seeing like, the whole Pisces energy is like, okay, Star Trek is in the background, and particularly in this day and age, we're like on par with that technology for that to be more apparent. It's just hidden, it's always been here. That's the thing. It's like we're all just more or less unpacking this within, like, the middle of the seasons, the middle of like, the chaos. That's what yesterday and today is, because it's in the middle of like, the Aries and Pisces respectively. And not to get too lost in those zodiacs, but just seeing like, to go beyond the mind, we have to like, we have to kind of like see why it does what it does, and to see and since we're seeing why it does what it does, we're honestly, it's just like going underneath the detrimental mind, So I got to check my surroundings, take a breath, take a pause. Yeah, someone's peeping at me, but it's all good. Yeah, but like just reviewing like what we were, and like it's not that I'm not doing this like for like, attention. This is like a bigger purpose, like I don't really care like if like you care or not, but like if the people who care will care, the people who understand and have the intelligence, they will understand and have the intelligence, because in high school I used to like play basketball, in middle school I used to do wrestling, And like for some reason there was a part of me, I would just show up like half nervous and half not nervous. That's just how I was for whatever reason. Like I wasn't necessarily like ever nervous, you know. I think that's like has to do with like a defined like, you know, spleen respectively, maybe a defined, you know, and a defined root, and maybe like a defined sacral in human design. That's just meaning that those energy chakra centers are being more apparent and more yang in different attribution flavors and flavor attributions. Because I'm not trying to I've been within the emotional like track record of just like, okay, this is where I'm at, you know. My like these things are being compared for detriment with detriment minds, so now there's ill emotions rising. Like that's not necessary, you know. Like I've like I like went I feel like I went through already like every religion, but that's not the point, you know. The point here is just saying like we're working with these different like phenomenal themes that are doing different things. Like they're making agencies and they're making frequencies, and within the frequencies and agencies they're making life tribulative themes, trials and tribulations, in a standard way, not in a good way or a bad way. And the root chakra is like on a society level, the first two is Venus and Saturn. So on because that's on a society level, that's like what that's what we're just kind of being shoveled into on a yin yang level or a yang yin level. Like the society being that, you know, we're going in to these fields of big influence. Like Venus is the closest star to the earth, and it's the brightest star to the earth in this like, you know, junction of an area. So that means there's something like, you know, really hyper metaphysically technical going on there. And it has been like since before 6,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, and most importantly your 60 years ago to 120 years ago, or however you want to just go back in the past based on how you use your mind. Because our mind is in between the wind element and the water element, and as it looks after it, it creates detrimental minds. That's the essence of how the detrimental mind is created. You going from an elemental standpoint and seeing how the mind is purified and then adulterated within different types of various filtration systems as it's going, pointing to particular nuances of trajectories of external pinpoint coordinate realities and coordinate reality pinpoints. That's how you could see the deep purity of the mind, is how the mind is starting and how the mind is looking at everything else, creating a subtle metaphysical mirror. And from that, it's light and shadow, and it's going to a particular type of externality. The essence of Maya is how the mind and the pre-mind is looking at the reality to even make a reflection to begin with. So this is like the essence of everything respectively. So we're going into like, you know, this like Venus and Mars thing, you know, I mean, this Venus and Saturn thing. Venus is just like what we're fighting for as far as like our nature needs, you know, how we're generally fighting in nature. And we're already in the Venusian experiment already. And that has like infinite different contexts and flavors per the subjective. And then the Saturn is just like seeing how everything is kind of being like tilled, you know, on just like, you know, like as far as like on a like, you know, kind of like, I don't know, some cartoons reveal it, you know. But it's not about that. It's about balancing like everything so we can prevent future suffering. That's the whole point of the Sanatana Dharma. And if you can't like realize that, that's on you.